everyone, I'm FMGreeno and welcome along to the very first episode of the Greeno Tour. This is a European Journeyman-ish save where I will be travelling around Europe, going from club to club, trying to get to the very top of the game, but only going to clubs that I have some kind of connection with. So if I bring up the details of the rules of the save initially, we have the following. So I can only manage a team that I have either seen play as the home team in a game, seen play as the away team in a game, or I have been to their stadium for some other reason. Now that reason may be, for example, like St Mary's, Southampton's ground. I've never been there to see Southampton play, but I have seen England play Kosovo there. So that counts as a ground I've been to. I could feasibly manage Southampton. Not that I'd want to. Now this applies to both club teams and international teams, and we'll have a little look in a minute at the teams that qualify. Rule number 2, I cannot apply for any club job in the country I am working in. So the idea is that obviously I want to get around Europe a little bit, so there's no point me ending up at a job in England and just keep applying for other jobs in England. I can attend interviews if I'm invited to them by clubs in the country that I'm working in, but I can't actively go out and look for another job in that country. Also, no use of the in-game editor. We're going to play it as it is, apart from having added the tier 10 database for England, and I'm only going to use that down to tier 7, because I think anywhere below that just isn't any point for the purposes of this save. So if we take a little look at the clubs that I am able to manage, we have, obviously I have left out all of the English teams because that would fill up an entire page of this itself. Suffice to say, as a Bournemouth fan, I have seen most teams in most divisions over the years, plus a bunch of non-league teams. I've always been interested in non-league football and have been around, seen a lot of games at a lot of levels. So there's a whole host of teams that I could conceivably manage in England. These are the teams I could manage outside of England. So a bunch of teams in Scotland here throughout the divisions. Similarly in Hungary, those of you who have followed me at all on Twitter or on YouTube so far will know I have a bit of a bonkers obsession with Hungarian football. So we have also teams in Slovakia, just one in Poland, one in the Czech Republic, few in Germany, Romania, Denmark, Portugal, Italy, Austria, and then internationals as well. So I'm not actually going to try and take any international jobs as such, but if any become available later in the save and we fancy chucking a World Cup or a Euros in or something like that, these are the teams that currently would be available as I've seen them play live. There are a couple that I've not added in here, Portugal for example. Now while I've been to grounds like the Estádio da Luz and a couple of others in Portugal, they don't really have a home ground as such, so it's a bit of a grey area as to whether I've been to their national stadium or not, because they don't really have one. So that's something we'll cross that bridge when we come to it later in the game, perhaps. So with all of that covered, these are the leagues that I have loaded into the game. You can see them here on the left-hand side if you want to take a bit of time to look down through them. Pretty much covers every team that I had mentioned, minus a couple who are in non-playable leagues currently, but I've left them in the save just in case they happen to make it up into the playable leagues at some point and become an option. So those of you who have been following this on Twitter the last few days may know that there's been a little bit of consternation about how to start this save. It's not necessarily a traditional Journeyman, because obviously we've got a very kind of, well, not very limited pool, but a limited pool of clubs we can go to. And having run some trials on it, I found that I only ever seem to get jobs offered from the Hungarian 2nd Division or the English 7th tier for clubs local to me. So Tiverton Town seem to pop up quite a lot. And the Hungarian ones, obviously I'm running a save with the Hungarian national team. So I was a little bit worried that everything might become a little bit Hungary-centric. So I put a couple of Twitter polls out, and it's been decided that I'm going to try and start in the Scottish 2nd Division. So rather than starting unemployed in this, I am going to start with a job with one of the Scottish 2nd Division teams. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to spin a wheel, and whichever one it ends up on is the club I am going to start with. So, as you can see, There are 4 potential options, grounds that I have been to for some reason or other in the Scottish League 2. The clubs involved are Annan Athletic, Albion Rovers, Stenhouse Muir and Stirling Albion. So let's spin the wheel and see which club is going to be the lucky recipient of FMGreeno as their manager. It's spinning away, and the lucky winner is Stirling Albion. We're off to Stirling. And here we are. So we have arrived in Stirling. We're in a little room in the Forth Bank Stadium. We have been appointed on a 1-year deal, £600 a week, which seems fairly reasonable for a semi-pro club. I won't disagree with them paying me that much money. It's going to be their 75th season, so a bit of a landmark there. What have we got here? So a bit of information about the club. So the Forth Bank Stadium, 3,808 capacity. I shouldn't imagine we'll be troubling that too much. I believe it's about 2,500 seater stadium. It's quite a modern ground. Been rebuilt over the last few years. Stirling Albion used to play at a ground called Anfield. I think as part of the development of Stirling as a general kind of sporting academy for Scotland, a lot of investment has taken place around the university there, and I know Scotland's youth facilities are based around Stirling. So the club got a bit of a rebuild, and it's a very nice kind of modern stadium for this level of football. So media prediction is 5th. Last season we finished 9th, so a bit of work to do here. We've got adequate training facilities, below average youth facilities, and fairly basic youth recruitment. I'd expected that to be a little bit better given the facilities that I know are around the club, but that's something for us to work on. This is the overview of the current Stirling squad. We'll get into that a little more detail later. So, what do the club want from me? To work within the wage budget. Okay. Minimum of 2-year contracts for first team players. That's interesting at this level. Often you find players are only on a 1-year deal. So this season they are requiring that we reach the playoffs, reach the 3rd round of the Scottish Cup and be competitive in the Betfred Cup. Okay, and then the season after they want to get promotion to League 1 and then pretty much stay in League 1. 5-year plan, get a top half finish in League 1. Well, I doubt we'll be here at the end of the 5th year, but hopefully we can push them up the leagues a little bit before then. So having arrived and signed a contract, let's have a little look at what we're dealing with here at Stirling. So as you can see, it's quite a nice stadium. We talked about that already. Key player here, Andy Ryan. Let's take a look at him. Well, he looks like a very good striker for this level. Look at this, 5-star ability. Finishing 14, pace 13, acceleration 13. I think he is someone that we can definitely build our front line around. Who's our hot prospect? Cammy Thompson. He doesn't look quite so special, does he? Bless him. But maybe he's, he's got a lot of potential. So maybe he's someone that we can have in and around the squad. So we have semi-professional status. We've got some work to do on these facilities, as we talked about. So we're predicted to finish 5th. So let's take a quick look at how that is stacking up. Well, according to this, 3rd. So that's even better. So Andy Ryan, Johnny Mitchell here also mentioned as a good player. So he can play in midfield or at right back. Equally adept at both. So we'll see how he fits into the squad. But again, a lot of very good numbers for this level of football. If we take a look at the squad as a whole, it's fairly thin looking, isn't it? Maybe the best thing for us to do in that case is to take a look at the team report. Squad depth for all positions. So, we could do with a decent goalie by the looks of it. We have 2 here, but not very good. It appears we don't have a single left back at the club whatsoever, so that's an issue. Centre back is looking a little thin. Johnny Mitchell, we already discussed, can play pretty much anywhere, centre of the park or right full back. We have this guy Dylan Bikey, who seems to be able to play around the wide areas pretty well. Let's take a look at him. Not bad. Pace and acceleration to burn. That's always useful in lower league football. So that looks like a decent option. Andy Ryan also. Look, this striker that we had can also play out on the left-hand side equally well. So that's good. Another decent striker here. Dylan Macklin. Not quite so good, hasn't got the pace or acceleration or whatever, but I think decent enough as a lumpy kind of striker at this level. Yeah, I think we got something that we can work with here. Let's have a look at the finances and see how much we've got to play with in terms of expanding this. Well, this isn't bad. So we've got a transfer budget of £30,000, but we currently have an extra £2,000 of wage budget. So that's quite nice. That gives us some options. I think you should be able to pick up decent players at this level for £200-300 a week. So we can probably add in 6 or 7 players without too much problem. Anybody in the youth setup, in the development centre? Let's have a look at the reserves. No, the overview is probably best. Not a lot of ability there, but there's definitely some potential. Will Greenhorn, Martin France, their players out on loan. Another young goalie. Yeah, there's nothing much in terms of enormous quality here, but certainly something to look at for years to come. Well, I think that's enough of a look around for today. What I plan to do is to play through the pre-season. We've got a couple of Betfred Cup games earlier in the season than the league starts. Against Hibernian and Brora. Bit of a contrast there. But my plan will be to come back for the first league game of the season, which will be against Queen's Park at home. Give me time to go through, make some transfers. Of course, it's quite a long way away. We're currently at the end of June, and that first league game's not until 17th of October. Obviously, this is the 2021 season, so affected by COVID. But yeah, hopefully it won't take me too long to blast through that, and I'll be able to come back for that first league game for you. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this first episode. I think the Greeno Tour is going to be a lot of fun. We should be able to get around Europe pretty well, and hopefully it won't take us too long to make our way up through the leagues and start challenging for silverware elsewhere. If you have enjoyed it, please drop a like on there for me. And if you've got any comments about this episode or the series as a whole, anything you're particularly looking forward to seeing, let me know in the comments below. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. There's a lot of good content on the channel already now. We have this series running. We have the mighty Magyars with Hungary. There's the Newcastle save from FM21 already in the back catalogue too. Well, it just remains for me to thank you for watching, and I will see you soon for some more action with Sterling Albion. Bye for now.